Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you ever feel like the people around you indirectly stop you from becoming who you could be? You know, from making condescending comments, hiding their envy behind jokes, not believing in you, or just making you feel like an outcast? If you're watching this video or if you clicked on it, the answer is probably yes. And honestly, I understand you. I remember back in the winter of 2018, I was 19 years old, just a lost kid, you know, trying to figure myself out. And I had this inspiring thing on my phone wallpaper, which I'd use as a weapon to just keep my mind in the right place. And somebody that I respected saw that and just laughed at it in this condescending way. I've had many people that I look up to constantly tell me that certain things aren't possible and that the only reason why other people achieve certain things is because they're lucky or that they're born in a certain way. I've had people change the way they interact with me and the way they view me whenever I'd mentioned that I want to go out there and achieve certain things. And even recently, I showed someone that I started this YouTube channel and that person just saw it and laughed at it in this condescending way because at the time I had like 40 some subscribers, right? Now, to be honest, those little things don't really bother me the way they used to, but I do know the strength it has in bringing people down if you feel this condescending energy consistently over an extended period of time. Because it leaves you confused, like, since when did trying to improve and become something turn into a joke or like something negative, right? It just makes you feel like you're doing something wrong. You know what I mean? But don't worry about it. That's why I made this video. Over the past few years, I've used a few methods to protect my spirit and just keep my mind in the right place. So I'm going to share all those methods with you today, and hopefully they help you protect your potential as well. All right, let's go. So the first method is arguably going to be the healthiest method we're going to be talking about in this video, and that's to simply talk to the people around you. So oftentimes this conversation is going to be with people that you somewhat rely on for survival and just loved ones in general, okay? Try to make some sort of deal with them. Just tell them, hey, this is my vision. This is what I want to accomplish. If you care about me, if you actually support me, I need you to just be there and give me your support for the next 3 years or 5 years or whatever your timeline is for your dream or like whatever your potential is, right? Make sure you tell them how them supporting you is going to benefit them and just show them how this is going to benefit your relationship with them in the long run. And if they're being downers, if they're being unsupportive, just tell them how they're making you feel. Tell them what their unsupportive energy is doing to you internally and try to really express how you feel on an emotional level. This will oftentimes give them the ability to empathize with you, which will make it a bit easier for you to make your point and try to get their support. The other thing you want to keep in mind is to make some sort of plan which will allow you to show these people how you're going to make money. Because a lot of the times the biggest problem is people, like parents or relatives, family members, oftentimes they're a bit worried and they're a bit scared to give you support because they don't know how you're going to make money, right? So if you can show them your plan that is well thought out, it's logical and it makes sense. If you can show it to them and present it to them and just tell them, hey, this is how I'm going to make money. So financially, you don't really have to worry about me becoming, some sort of broke individual that's just begging people for money, right? This will give them a sense of peace. Now, after doing this, your job is to prove it to them. Like, prove that you're committed to this deal that you've made with them. And you prove it by genuinely waking up every single day and working as hard as possible and improving as fast as you can to get to this vision that you've told them, right? And if you do this, oftentimes they will support you. Because if they see that you're putting in the work, you have a plan that makes sense, it's very hard for them to go against it in general. But if they do, don't worry about it. You're actually in the majority. So let's move on to the next few methods, which should definitely help you prevent this unsupportive environment from crushing your potential. The second method is isolation. So Albert Einstein once said, stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution. So one of the best ways to prevent others from damaging your spirit and just ruining your potential is to literally just get away from them. Get away from the people that derail you and isolate yourself. Now, this can vary from trying to get your own place or by cutting off certain relationships with family members and friends. Now, obviously, too much isolation is not good. So, as you're getting away from the people that derail you, try to make friends with people that actually understand you and people that actually resonate with the way you think. However, at the same time, it is important to know that if you are trying to break out of a certain environment, it can be very difficult to find people that resonate with the way you think. So you are gonna go through that phase of loneliness, but at the end of the day, it's better to be alone than to be around people that drag you down, right? So that loneliness phase is gonna be there, but do try to find friends as you get away from this unsupportive environment, because that's very important. Now, obviously, I'm also aware that many people are not able to isolate themselves because maybe you're just too young or you don't have the financial resources yet, which obviously makes a lot of sense. Everything's expensive, so I completely get that. But the next method should definitely help you out with that problem. So let's get into that. Okay, so the third method is to use the power of the headphone. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are not able to put themselves in a position where they can isolate themselves because of financial issues, or they're just simply not able to do it, right? So in those cases, you have to kind of be patient and silently work towards being able to put yourself in a position where you can escape and isolate. Until then, you need to protect your mind. And this is where headphones come in. Through headphones, you can literally surround yourself with people who allow you to be in the right mental energy. You can do this by listening to the right audiobooks, the right podcasts, watching the right YouTube videos, or even if you don't really want the audio or just the visual digital experience of it, you could even go to the book side. You can read physical books, you can write yourself self-written letters. The whole idea here is to surround yourself in an environment where you're listening to and you're seeing words and visuals that allow you to be in an inspired mental space, because it's words and energy that will ruin you. So if you're constantly being told a certain thing, if you're seeing things that are self-destructive, then it's just a matter of time until you become like that as well. So use the headphones and just play, healthy content in your ear, watch healthy content, read healthy content, do this consistently throughout the day. Right? And you'll find that it becomes a lot easier for you to protect your spirit because you're not being forced to just listen to what these people are saying or just look at things that are not serving you in a healthy way. So obviously it all comes down to what works for you. Some people, they respond to physical books better. Some people like audiobooks, some people like podcasts, some like YouTube videos, some even like movies, whatever it is. As long as you're using content to surround yourself with a healthy space and you consistently use it to keep your mind in the right place, then you'll definitely be able to put yourself in a position where you'll eventually be able to escape and isolate. And then once you can isolate, you can then carry on from there and continue to build on your potential. And that's the whole idea, right? So headphones are very important. Constantly feed yourself with right energy and yeah, you'll be okay. The fourth method is to be okay with shame and humiliation. So nobody likes to get laughed at. We all know that. Nobody wants to get shamed. It's a horrible feeling. But the reality is the fear of shame and the fear of humiliation, the fear of people looking at you like you're weird, the fear of people looking at you like you're different is a huge reason to why social environments are able to kill people's potential. Right? So if you're not okay with being laughed at for a bit, if you're not okay with feeling those feelings of humiliation and shame, then you can pretty much say bye to your potential, right? Because that fear will cripple you. It's just infamous. It's been like the biggest thing that holds people back. Now, at the same time, make sure that you're not okay with every form of shame, because if you become okay with every form of shame, then you just become a bum. Right? Then you become a loser, you become someone that nobody respects. You have to have a certain sense of pride as well. And you have to use your wisdom to figure out, what sort of shame you're okay with. But, being okay with being laughed at for a bit as you continue to grow is extremely important if you want to be able to protect your spirit, and protect your potential. Now, to explain this more in depth, I'm going to bring up a chart here by David Hawkins. So the chart you're looking at right now is the levels of human consciousness. So as you can see here at the bottom, shame is the absolute worst internal experience a human being can go through. This is why we all avoid that like the plague. Nobody wants to get shamed. It's a horrible feeling, right? But to combat this, we have to go higher up the chart. So if you go higher up the chart, you can see here that acceptance puts you in a much healthier mental space. So if you're feeling those feelings of shame, just being okay with it, just accepting it, and just understanding that this is a part of the process will allow you to tolerate those feelings of shame a lot better. Right? Because if you don't accept it, then you're always like, oh my God, like, oh my God, they're going to laugh at me. They're going to say something. Like, who cares? Like, who actually cares? Like, it doesn't matter. You're the one that's doing what you have to do to move forward. So accepting that you're going to feel those feelings of shame is extremely important if you want to overcome that fear of being laughed at. If you can overcome that fear of being laughed at, then you put yourself in a position to really overcome that hurdle of allowing your social environment to destroy your potential. So hopefully this chart serves as a weapon that you can use to overcome that fear of being laughed at, that fear of going through shame. There are other methods out there, but at the end of the day, this is what it comes down to, and hopefully that helps you out. The fifth method is to think in the long term. So the lack of patience is a major killer when it comes down to maximizing potential. And, in the world of instant gratification, we're so used to getting everything right away. Like we get food right away. If we're kind of bored, we can go on social media or YouTube or Netflix or whatever it is. We get instant gratification very quickly. So we expect the same thing when it comes down to results. Like we put in work and then we want the results right away. And trust me, I completely understand why people want results right away. Because especially if you're in a specific environment that's not supportive, you want to show them and you want to prove yourself and you want to just pretty much have that moral authority to say, I am right and I know what I'm doing. So you want results immediately. But the reality is that's just not ideal. It's not realistic, right? If you want to maximize whatever vision and potential that you have, it takes a long time, right? So just think about it this way. If you want to be a doctor, it takes about 10 to 14 years of post-secondary education to become a doctor. But everyone wants immediate success within 1 year, 6 months, or 2 years if they're going on a new venture. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't, right? But again, as I mentioned, I get it. It's just the culture that we have. So just going in with the expectation that this new venture that you're on is going to take, maybe 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, or maybe 15 years to fully come to fruition is a lot healthier. Because when you have that long-term perspective, then you're able to overcome the frustration of not getting results or the frustration of people looking down on you, people saying that you're not going to do it. Expecting it to take 5 years or 10 years makes it a lot easier for you to believe in yourself, right? Because if you expect it within 6 months and it doesn't happen, then you're done, right? You'll lose belief in yourself. You'll start to lose enthusiasm. You'll get discouraged and then you'll just start to feel sorry for yourself. And once you start to feel sorry for yourself, now you become easy to control because people can tell you that, hey, you were wrong. You didn't know what you were doing. And then that just, fills you up with shame and now you just become a complete shell of yourself, right? So to avoid that, thinking in the long term and having a long-term expectation is something that is extremely important if you're looking to protect your spirit. The sixth method is to be close-minded. Now, I know this is very controversial, but at some point, you have to just come to the realization that a lot of people are simply not going to understand what you're doing. And that's okay. If you're doing something against the norm, they're simply not going to understand it. They might make fun of you, as you mentioned earlier, the whole thing with shame and humiliation, but you have to be close-minded in those situations because the reality is you have the courage to go out there and do something outside of the norm. They don't. They're just scared. They have no creativity, no desire to do anything. Like they're just there. So you can't listen to people who don't have a willingness to grow. And I know I sound like a motivational speaker right now, and honestly, I'm not a motivational speaker. That's not the goal of this channel. I have, many different things planned for this channel. I'm not a motivational speaker. Like that's not the goal with this thing. But I'm just telling you that if people are constantly telling you things that are counterintuitive to what you believe, you can't really listen to them if it goes against your goals, right? And now the real question is, how do you figure out who you should listen to? How do you figure out whether or not what they're saying makes sense or not? Well, it really comes down to questioning, right? You have to question the other person on why they're telling you what they're telling you. And then now you have to decide whether or not their rationalization is based in logic, or is it based in emotion? Is it based in fear? Does it actually make sense? Are you going to get closer to your goals and visions and your potential based on what they're saying? If the answers are not beneficial to you, then don't listen. Now again, there is a level of common sense involved, because if you want to be in the NBA, like if that's your goal, but you're like 22 years old and you're 4'10" and you're 97 pounds, the reality is it's not going to happen. I mean, like that's not people trying to tear down your dreams. It's not going to happen, right? So there is a level of common sense that's required in these situations. But at the end of the day, there is a level of closed-mindedness that's going to be involved if you want to protect your spirit. Now, this is going to make you pretty unpopular within, I guess, your social group. But I mean, if you're willing to sacrifice your potential for it, that's fine. At the end of the day, if you're good at conversation, if you're able to get the other person to understand what you're saying, you should be able to keep those relationships strong. But at the end of the day, be a bit close-minded, believe in yourself, and you'll be fine. And that takes us to the seventh method, which is to simply believe in yourself. Now, I know this is a massive cliche that so many people talk about, like believe in yourself, believe in yourself, believe in yourself. But the reality is, it's true. If you don't believe in yourself, I mean, nothing's gonna happen. Your spirit will be compromised, you'll never maximize your potential, and you'll just live in regret, right? So believing in yourself is key. Now, the deeper question is, how do you actually instill that belief? Like, what creates that confidence? Well, it comes down to a few things. Number one would be to reflect on your strengths. Reflect on certain talents and certain characteristics that you have, which will allow you to succeed. This could be your work ethic, your ability to learn, your ability to get along with people, your ability to, do whatever, like your ability to present in front of a camera. I'm just saying that right now because a camera is in front of me. But you know what I mean? Like, reflect on your strengths and believe in it. Number two is to identify past victories. So what this means is, think about your past. Think about times when you've done things which have created that pride in you, right? There are moments that you've had which you've been proud of that represented your capabilities, right? So writing down those past victories and moments on a piece of paper and keeping those moments close to your heart and in your mind is extremely important, because this will create that belief that, hey, I have it in me. I have it in me to go out there and do what needs to be done to maximize my potential, right? Now, if you're still struggling after those two main components of self-confidence, the third one is going to come down to seek out stories. There are many stories out there of successful people who've had multiple failures in their life, right? And seek out those stories, read about them, and keep those stories close to you. For example, Steve Harvey lived in his car for 3 years when he was in his 30s, as he was trying to maximize his dream. J.K. Rowling got rejected 12 times. Harry Potter got rejected 12 times prior to getting published. And that's Harry Potter. So there are many stories out there like that. Just keep those stories close to your heart, and whenever you're feeling down, just reflect on those stories, and that should help you keep that confidence intact and make sure that nobody ruins it. So thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. That's all I have for you in this video. At the end of the day, these methods have worked really well for me, and I'm really confident it'll work well for you as well. So hopefully you can put it into practice and keep that spirit and potential intact. All right. So if you got anything out of this video, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next video. All right. Love you all. Take care.